It is Wednesday, May 28th, 20 and the 25. And you know which calendar that is. Yep, the Mayan calendar, 11:48 a.m. here in the farm fields of Valparaiso, Indiana. It's been a while. So I thought I'd check in, just say hello. Checking in to say hello. I don't know um, how many more videos I'll have between now and Sunday, but we are leaving Sunday for a 2-week trip out west. We've got the whatever it's called, the Big Five, the Giant Five, the Mighty Five, I think is actually what it's called, of the national parks. Going to hit 5 different national parks and then end up in Vegas for a couple of days at the end of the trip before flying back home. So that's going to be a good time. So I just wanted to say hi and see what's going on here. And right now, the only position I am holding is these 3 gold futures contracts at an average of 3316.833. And it's currently at 3315.7. We'll talk about that in a moment. Yeah, that's what's going on right here, which is a lot of nothing. So let's look over at the old spreadsheet and get caught up. So on April 21st of this year, I made my very first futures trade, and it turned out I lost a big chunk of money on that very first trade. And then from there, we began to trade more and more, and almost exclusively futures. As I've explained to you before, but I just wanted to reiterate, I'm waiting for a gold and silver setup to get back into long positions, including leaps. So I'm feeling pretty good right now, I think, about gold and silver. That's why I'm currently long the silver of the futures, but I'm going to be try to keep a tight leash on that because, going flat into the Nvidia earnings report today may not be a bad idea either, because you know how the market can be. It can go either way in a heartbeat. So continued to trade and trade and trade. Lost a chunk there, 6,300. Keep going. Had a nice run. I went on, I wrote it down. I went on a 59 trade streak as far as futures are concerned, where I went 59 straight trades without a loss, which makes you feel pretty good. There's a nice one there, $8,000. And then lately, I've just been a little bit more conservative, trying to keep a tight leash on things. So you can see some of the numbers are small, but again, I'll put $550 in my pocket all day, every day, and drumroll please, twice on Sunday. Where are we at? 23rd. Oh, and then the other thing to discuss just briefly, because I don't want to cry in front of you. There's that TMF finally put in the stop, got stopped out of that 14,000 shares. Who in their right mind gets into a position on a 3 times leveraged ETF, which includes decay, because they use leverage, meaning borrowed money, margin, etc., to run their ETF. So that's very dangerous. And that's what happened. I just got beat down. What happened here? Go back. What year is that? Hold on. Hey, everybody. Entertain yourselves as I get back to where we were. It's here somewhere. Just look for that big red, right? There's big red. So 14,000 shares of a leveraged ETF is basically shows you my lack of trading ability at this point. I mean, I know the winning trades look great and they feel great, but you can't get in a position where you're going to lose 6 figures on a leveraged ETF. Hello, I keep saying it to myself. So there's our $103,230 loss in the book. But I've got that separate from the futures trades just to make myself feel better mentally, because that's part of what we would want to do as humans. So, and then this loss right here, which was yesterday, $7,890. Oh, my goodness. I guess I'm not still upset about it, but at the time I was very upset about it because yesterday was the last day for me to be in that contract, and I didn't want to take delivery of a bunch of natural gas. I've got enough natural gas, don't I? And Robinhood actually won't allow you to take delivery anyway, so they're going to close that trade out with or without you on the 27th. That was the last day. So it made a nice little move. I put a stop in, and then, of course, it immediately bumped my stop, knocked me out before going up and would have been in the green. I would have been in a winning trade if I would have had the guts to stick around, but I didn't. So that's part of what I want to discuss with you today. So here's where we're at. And so I've made 82. Well, this one's 83, but it hasn't concluded yet. So 82 closed trades on the futures market, and 77 of those were wins, 5 were losses, and a total net of 101,791. So almost a wash on the big drawdown we took there. So that's what I would have been feeling a lot better about my beginner luck. And that's probably what we're dealing with here on these futures trades. But we're still essentially negative if I'm running that against the loss on the TMF, which I shouldn't be, because, the TMF is in my swing trading category. And as far as where we're at on the year, we're still doing well. So, I've taken a ton of money out of here. So if we go to year to date, where are we at? At $624,000 in the green, and that's 37.33% return. And I was almost 43% at one point until, taking that big beat downtown to Chinatown. So I'm still feeling really good about trading, really good about this year's trading. But it's still wrapping my mind around the mental aspect of trading, because that's what, to me, is boiling down to is how am I able to effectively manage my emotions, when I'm dealing with um, trading, and especially the ramping up of the emotions that has gone on with the futures trading. And just to give you an example of something that I have to overcome, and that is this, because we seek pleasure and we avoid pain. That's what we try to do. It's biologically hardwired into us, right? So what I notice about futures trades is, as soon as I'm in the contract, I'm like, have fear of, uh-oh, and what if it goes against me? Oh yeah, let me stare at the chart and will it to go up or down, or whichever way my trade is going or wants to or should be going. And so, like, for instance, right here, I already want to put a stop on and start locking my profits. Which, hey, see, I just lost $30 while we were speaking. Uh, so that's something I have to work on. I've got to figure out to become mentally tougher. I don't know if that's exactly the words, because, again, we're biologically wired for a lot of things, most everything. So when things automatically go on, it's because of our biology. It's like, well, I almost wrote a book once. I still have most of the draft because I never did finish it. It was called Skinny Happy Money, and it was the cure for the 3 deadly diseases of despair. That was the title. And those deadly diseases were fatness, brokenness, and dumbness. Now, part of the problem with fatness is we could eat a whole full meal and be stuffed to the gills, and then dessert comes out, and somehow we find a way to be able to easily polish that off. And that's because of our biology. So we didn't have food back when we were scavenging around in our caveman suit, and high sugar, high calorie foods became very desirable to us. So we're hardwired to eat those almost to a point of exploding. And that's why we get fat, because we don't have the same lifestyle. We're not traveling miles and miles a day on foot, chasing, rabbits around to eat. So that's part of what in the book, I called it the bio bully. So you got to overcome the bio bully in order to lose the weight that you want to lose. And then dumbness was, when you do the same thing over and over again and expect a smart result. Let me rephrase that. When you do, I'm a little jacked up on coffee, so give me a minute. You and that coffee. Dumbness is when you do the same dumb thing over and over again and expect a smart result. Of course, I stole that from the definition of insanity. And then brokenness, that's obvious, because you don't want to be broke, because if you're broke, you're always going to have trouble. And it's just like crime, and you've heard me talk about it before and go on my soapbox that if drug addicts had enough money, crime rate would be down dramatically. If poor people had more money, then crime rates would go down dramatically, right? And we all agree with those things. So uh, let me know if you still want me to write that book, Skinny Happy Money, the cure for the three deadly diseases of despair, brokenness, dumbness, and fatness. Well, that was a tangent, but again, it goes back to the biology. So for me, like I want to become a good trader. On paper, I'm a good trader. Mentally, I'm a novice and a terrible trader because these emotions become involved. For instance, you get into a trade and you start going green. My first response is always, "Hey, go broke taking profit." Yeah, but that's also the subconscious part of me wanting to avoid the pain of that trade turning into a red trade. So it's like, oh, sell, 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 put that money in my pocket, $200 into my skinny jeans. When so many times, if I would just let them run, I'd make some actual dough, some real dough. And then the flip side of that, where the emotions are involved in the loss. So when you take $103,000 dollar loss, and on the way, how do you end up with 14,000 shares of TMF? There's only one way, and that is trying to avoid pain. Well, what do you mean by that? Okay, well, the trade starts to go against me right away. Instead of throwing in a stop loss and just getting the heck out of there with just a flesh wound or maybe even some paper cuts, I just keep doubling down. I know I'm right. Your ego wants to be right, and your ego wants to protect you from pain. So if I can double down, change my cost basis, lower it, lower it, lower it, lower it, because I know I'm right about this trade, then you end up with 14,000 shares of something that nobody should ever own for more than maybe a week. So that is the emotion. That's the emotions that I have to, let me reiterate, I have to overcome them. And I know that I can, but how long will it take? Because and this is the stuff I used to preach in real estate to my agents. And I had also a little coaching company called Real Estate Good Life, where I would coach agents from all over the country. And it always, always, always came down to the same thing. And that was mindset. So do you have a fixed mindset, or do you have a growth mindset? Be aware of your psychological burdens, your psychological anchors, because we all have them. And when I talk to what I call regs, regular people, that don't repeat that. Don't tell anybody I said that. But when I talk to regs and I point these things out regarding emotion and biology and how we're hardwired to do things, they all look at me like I'm a crazy person. But it's absolutely 100% true. And when I started to make real strong moves in my real estate career, it was when I was able to manage my emotions, because real estate sales, real estate investing, both are very emotionally volatile. So when you're a real estate broker helping people buy and sell and invest in real estate, they don't do that often. So their emotions run very high. And when things go against them, they get upset. And I was always that warm blanket that would wrap you up and make you, and just rock you, and you should gonna be fine. You're gonna be this is all gonna be sweet. And then I could also predict what would go on. Okay, so the buyer's gonna say this, and this, and then they would say that to my seller, like, you got a magic 8 ball, or you've got a crystal ball. And it just became patterns that I recognized in humans because of their emotions and personality types. Different personality types have different reactions. And those type A's, and how angry they can get and how right they want to be because of their need to avoid pain and their ego to be right, the things that get me in trouble. So to me, good trading, it requires recognizing these facts and then fighting through the hardwired emotions that come with being a human being. That's the stuff that I'm currently working on, because greed and fear is a thing and it will never go away. The term, or the fight or flight. Why are we hardwired for fight or flight? To keep us alive, right? That's the same in trading. You get into a trade and then it's like, oh boy, fight or flight, sell, 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 or buy more of a dud like this to protect yourself from facing the immediate pain that should be required in a good trader's toolbox. Get out of that trade. Let's just get back on the sidelines, regroup. Um, So those are the things I'm working on. Avoid pain, seek pleasure. Yeah, I put $200 in the skinny jeans. It could have been 20,000, but I wanted to avoid future pain of being wrong and have the pleasure of putting a couple of dollar bills in my pocket, right? Oh, look, we're up. We're up. We're up 620. Go ahead, Bart. Do exactly the opposite of what you're just talking about. I don't really want to be in any position going into, let's put a limit order on this and just see if it goes right while we're watching 19.5. How's that? What do we have? 3 contracts? Yeah. And I know that's not a big move. Oh, I hear the boy. The boy is home. He only has half days this time of year because his other class, his welding class, is a college level class. All right, sell 3. Just put it in there. Let's just have some fun together, shall we? Then I can pay for we're going to the Cubs game, leaving in probably an hour and a half. So better get the shower. Going to the Cubs games. We're bringing our friends Jeff and Casey with us, and I think we're going to eat here. This looks pretty cool, and I've never been at this joint, but it has great reviews. 4.8 out of 5. Look at that ambiance. Hello. We're staying at the what's it called? It was just in my mind. Whatever hotel we're staying at, it's right there. I want to say the Drake. It's definitely not the Drake. It's a name though, but it's a newer hotel right there in Wrigleyville, literally across the street from the stadium. So excited about that. Hey, you're going the wrong way. You're affecting my emotions, but let's look at those charts just to see what we got our eye on. One is this. So, I mean, look at this. Look at this range. That silver, and these are silver futures. Look at the range that they've been trading at, like forever. So I'm feeling like maybe silver might have a little time here. Might get into a little squeeze action with the banking cartel. I was going to wait until this line, close to this line, and I missed it here, of going into some leaps on the SLV. So I'm still feeling things out there. Bitcoin, where are you at? I'd be looking for, let's put it on right now. I'm still looking a little lower on this move on the Bitcoin. Whoa, where'd you go? Is that you? I'm in a video. I'll do it live. Put this here. Yes, please. Thank you. I'd be looking let's go. Just that little tight window right there would be the target and again, what do I know? Just, I asked the Magic 8 Ball, what do you think a target would be on Bitcoin? And then it tells me. So it would be there. Let's make this so we can see it. How about that? There you go. All right, there's our target on the Biddy. Gold futures, and that, I'm not an expert on triangles, but that to me looks like a triangle. So something's got to give. I'm thinking it's going through the roof here. We shall see. 1 hour chart on gold futures. There's our Bitcoin futures. Again, I'd be looking lower. I could easily be wrong here. Bitcoin's been very strong lately. Silver futures, man, I had a great trade on it and just chickened out and bailed. It was yesterday, wasn't it? When did I trade? So it'd be Monday. Yeah, look where I got in on silver. 3475. But then why does that seem right? What am I anyways talking to myself here? I was running these right through here because those were the 4 I was looking at all together, and that's what I do when I don't rearrange the charts for you and keeping them together. So let's move the gold over to the gold, move the silver to the silver, and here we are here. Whoa. All right, so I put this on this morning. So it would have been early today. I put in this resistance, and I was short at the time on the S&P futures, And so and I put this resistance box in there, I mean, basically visually telling myself, look for it to go here before it turns around. When it kept running in there, I was like, oh boy, here we go, about to lose some dough. So then when it started to make a move towards where I had the support, you could see it hit, and then I bailed. I bailed at what? Like you saw it as like $500 profit. Yeah, 508, and that was from yesterday. Yeah. So yesterday I was in there short at 59.26, 9 contracts, which is a lot, and a buck. But it ended up going down, of course, way more than that, which is part of my problem. I'm not saying I could have cut all of this down to 59.13, but I should have caught way more than I did. So we definitely got through or got to my support zone. I think the next moves are up. If we get back down today into some reasonable teens on anytime soon, I might take like a scratch off lottery ticket on a reaction of the Nvidia earnings, which I think are going to be great earnings. They typically always do, but how the market reacts, we shall see. But I think the moves are going to be north. But again, if I'm flat going into that, that's fine too. But you can see, like looking at the MACD, this thing, look how high this is as far as what would be considered overbought. It's coming down at some point soon, but the next move certainly might be up. I was thinking about getting back in the natty today, but then I was like, yeah, that thing made your butt stink for a while and then ended up kicking you in the cookie bag at the end. So I'll just keep watching it, but I think it's bottoming here. And this is a different month contract, so the numbers are a little different than what I was dealing with yesterday. We definitely got all of our ABC, didn't we? So then what? Look at this gap. Ugh, that's scary too. That is scary too. Talking out loud still. Sorry. That's my update. Checking in with you. Hope you're doing well. Uh-oh, going the wrong way. Wrong way. So now we're back in no, not negative yet. Trying to be. So this would be also emotionally where I'd say, okay, it gets below my cost basis. I might add one more contract, even though I promised myself the last contract was the last contract. So we'll leave that sell order in at 33.19 at the moment. Then we'll just keep watching it. Hope you're doing well. Like, subscribe, comment, share with a lovable friend, and I may or may not see you. I'm pretty certain I'll stop in and say hi before we leave for a couple weeks because I plan on doing 0.0 trading during those weeks, enjoying nature and the family. Did I already say this? Like, subscribe, comment, share a lovable friend. I think I did, but I'll say it again to make sure that you do it. See you in the next video.